Unit 6 final review. Okay, the first thing you want to do is, how do I rewrite this? You're going to be rewriting them from exponent form to root form. How do I rewrite this as a root? Who remembers? Perfect. This bottom number represents your root. This top number represents your exponent. So Mia was correct when she said we're going to write this as the cubed root of 27 squared. Then you'll break it down and reduce if you can, right, Michael and Chris? So can 27 break down to what? 3 is correct. So you have 9 and 3 and 3 and 3. So because of this being a cubed root, we need 3 of the same numbers in order to make a group to pull out. So we are able to take out a 3, and then so we end up with 3 squared, which equals 9. Questions? Example 2. You're always trying to get your root or your variable by itself. So what is the first thing we'll do on example 2? Very good. Divide by 5 is correct. So I end up with x to the negative 1/2 equals 3. Who knows how to get rid of that negative 1/2 power? You take it to the reciprocal power. But because it's a negative, I'm going to raise it to a negative power as well to make the power positive. Does that make sense? So we are raising this to the negative 2 power, or if you want negative 2 over 1, that's fine. Because that will end up canceling out that power. But whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the, so we're also taking 3 to the negative 2nd power. So on the left, I have x equals, and then I have 3 to the negative 2nd power. Well, how do I get rid of, we can't have a negative exponent. How do I get rid of that negative exponent? Very good. We put it over 1, and we bring that negative exponent to the other side. So I end up with 3 to the 2nd in the denominator. If nothing's on top, then there is a 1, and then that can simplify to what? 1 over 9. Any questions? Okay. Example 3. We have our f of x and our g of x. Okay, who remembers where we start? Good, your innermost parentheses. So they're saying find f of x. You're plugging x in for x in your f equation. So what is f of x? Good. So this then goes away, and we are putting in 2x plus 5 in for f of x. So there's still a g outside. So that means I'm finding g of 2x plus 5. Do we get that? So now what am I going to do? Good. You're plugging in 2x plus 5 now for x in your g equation. So the first one, we are plugging in x for x in my f equation. So that was easy because we didn't really change anything because x changing for x is the same. So that's how I got 2x plus 5 for f of x. When they're asking for g of 2x plus 5, that means you go to your g equation. So this is my g equation right here. And wherever I see an x, instead of writing x, I have to write 2x plus 5. So when I write this, how am I going to write it? 3 times,
2x plus 5 minus 7.
and then you'll simplify. So we distribute 3, and we get 6x plus 15 minus 7, and then you can simplify, and we get
6x plus 8.
and that is our answer. Okay? When you have numbers, sometimes numbers are nice because you're not having to deal with letters. But this says to find f of 3 first. So what am I going to do? Good. You're going to plug 3 in now for x in this equation. So we're going to have 2 times 3 plus 5. What is 2 times 3? And 6 plus 5 is 11. So now, instead of having f of 3, we know that f of 3 actually makes what? 11. So now I'm finding g of 11. What am I going to do? Good. We're going to plug 11 in now for x. So we have 3 times 11 minus 7. What's 3 times 11?
33.
And 33 minus 7 is 26. So my answer is 26. It's not 11, right? 11 was just getting me halfway to my answer. So my answer is 26. Questions? All right. Example 4. So you have more f of x and g of x equations, and this one just says find f of x plus g of x. So all we're doing is adding our f of x part plus our g of x part together. So if we write that out, that's x squared plus 5x plus 2 plus 2 times x plus 1 squared. What do we need to do first in order to simplify this? Before distributing, box this up. X plus 1 squared. Okay? So if you want to go to the side and make a box to multiply that out, you can. And so we have x and a positive 1 and x and a positive 1. When we multiply, I get x squared, x, and 1, which makes perfect. Okay, and I still have that 2 in front there, right? Once you get rid of your exponent, then you can distribute that 2 through. So we'll multiply 2 through there, and we get 2x squared plus 4x plus 2. And then I'm just rewriting that first part, the x squared plus 5x plus 2. And then all we do is combine our like terms. So x squared and 2x squared makes 3x squared. 5x and 4x makes, and 2 and 2 makes 4. Okay. Questions? Okay, who remembers on example 5, how do we find the inverse? Good. You're correct. And how do we find what that actually is? Who remembers what we do? Good. So f of x is really like y, right? And then in order to find the inverse, we exchange x and y. So I'm going to write this as x equals, perfect, 3y plus 5, but we need to get y by itself again. So what do I do to get y by itself? Very good. Subtract 5 to both sides. So I have x minus 5 equals 3y, and then I would divide by 3. Perfect. So now y is by itself. How should I write my answer though? Good. F to the negative 1 of x equals x minus 5 over 3 is correct. And that's my answer. And why did I do f to the negative 1 of x? Because that is telling you that it's the inverse. And because my original equation was f of x. If my original equation was y, I would have just put it as y to the negative 1. Right? Okay. Yes?
Would it be correct if I put fx negative 1?
It's not that it's incorrect, but this is the correct way to put it. I'm sure like if it was a written answer and you wrote it that way, I would know what you mean and I probably wouldn't mark you off. But this is the way it should be written. Okay? All right, other questions on that? Okay, what is the domain on example 6? How do you, what's the definition of the domain? X values. Okay, so this is asking you, what X values can you use on this problem? Who knows? Good job, Mia. That is correct. Remember that X can be any number except you cannot have 0 in the bottom of a fraction because why? Good. It's no solution or undefined. You can't have 0 in the bottom of a fraction ever. Okay? So on this one, it's all real numbers except X cannot equal what? 5. And how do I know it's 5?
Because you said it equal.
Right, if you go x minus 5 equals 0, we add 5, and we get x equals 5. The only value that will make the denominator 0 is if x equaled 5. So that's the only value you can't use for x. Any other value will work. Okay? Questions at all here?